how do we talk about people who have committed the sin of abortion? Some people would say, well, you got to be sensitive, you've got to be thoughtful, you've got to be nice. The baby was indeed killed, but the mother and the father, they're wounded, they're scarred, so let's just water down the language. I get that. On the other hand, we don't seem to do that with any other issue. Why would we do it with the issue of abortion? Well, that was the question that I put forth to the G3 panel. How should we talk to the world about their sin of abortion?
When you're asking questions about how we are to speak, I think there could be some individuals, there are some contexts in which what happens in the abortion mill needs to be identified for exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And there are other contexts where in speaking with someone, you need to be extremely sensitive to being gentle. And I don't think that you can simply come up with a absolute black and white, it's always this way or it's always that way. It's sort of like when I'm standing outside of the Mormon temple. When someone comes up to me, there have been times when I have approached them in a way that was very sensitive to where they were coming from, and there are some times when I felt the need to be extremely straightforward in identifying Mormonism for the soul-destroying cult that it is, and I have to be sensitive to the Spirit's leading in that. So my concern is when you do a cookie-cutter type thing. You've always got to be this way. You've always got to be that way. I'm concerned about anyone that has to be that way. If you're a parent, you know, there are times when the kid's reaching for the scalding water on the stove, and you had better be very, very straightforward in your actions at that point in time. And then there are other times when that just simply wouldn't be appropriate. And if we know that in life, then we should recognize that's going to be applicable in a much broader sense.
Dr. James White, he says, context determines how we speak to the person who has had an abortion. No! You must condemn everybody as a murderer, say other Christians. What says Voddie Baucham?
Here's my major problem with ministries like this. And this is an issue to which I've been committed for decades. This is an issue that I'm all in on. However, God's plan is the church. That's his plan, the church, the local church. When people start ministries to deal with issues, and oftentimes aren't even part of a local church, and then come down judgmentally because we're committed to what God has commanded us to be committed to, as opposed to being as fired up as they are about an issue that has caused them to neglect that which God has commanded us to be committed to, then you're out of whack and you got a problem. And I have a huge problem. And this is with any issue-oriented ministry that is not submitted to the local church, that is not under the authority of the local church, where people haven't been sent by the local church, where they haven't been authorized by the local church, when they're renegades and rogues from the local church. I have a huge problem. And that's usually when you find the heaping of this kind of condemnation.